Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the SimNFL show. Real talk about fake sports. I am your host and commissioner. You can call me Pierce. Today we are discussing the divisional round of the 2026 playoffs of the Pro Football Sim over at SimSN. If you're unfamiliar, come check us out on the interface and on Discord. We would love to have you. So today we are going to get into our stats and summaries from all of the divisional round games. There were 4 of them to cover, and then we will go right into our preview for the conference championships, which will take place next week. We've got a couple of quick features for you today. Another edition of Extension News. We'll cover a couple of new signings that we had yesterday. And then we're going to do a combine watch list, talk about a few position groups that I'm very excited to see how they perform in the lead up to the draft. Obviously, there will be a lot more draft feature to come, but I figure I would whet your appetites here just a little bit as we draw the 2026 season to a close. But first, we're going to cover the games, so let's go ahead and jump right in. In a wild and fast-paced and game featuring 2 very different approaches, the Broncos defeated the Chiefs 50-36 to advance to their 5th straight conference championship. Things started out very quickly with Benedict DeLuna returning the opening kickoff 105 yards for a touchdown. Denver promptly got the ball, and then Peter London on the very first play from scrimmage ran it for 68 yards. The next play, Thomas Gazik scored from 3 yards out, tying it at 7. And then DeLuna returned the ensuing kickoff 92 yards, all the way down to the 2-yard line, and David Chop ran it in for a touchdown on the next play. So 95 seconds into the game, the score was 14-7 Kansas City. Benedict DeLuna already had 197 return yards. Denver, on their next drive, put together an 11-play drive, with the key play being London hitting Raymond Stelly for a 14-yard gain to convert a 3rd and 8. That drive ended with a Ryan Johnson touchdown run from 6 yards out, tying the score at 14. Kansas City then went 3 and out on their next drive, and Jason Hinton returned the ensuing punt to the Chiefs' 45-yard line. London hit Geese for 21 and then ran it in himself from 9 yards out, putting Denver back on top 21-14. Kansas City had a penalty on their first play from scrimmage and then went 3 and out after that. And Denver responded with a 16-play drive, going all the way down to the Kansas City 2-yard line and getting just a short field goal out of that. But that did increase the lead to 24-14. Then both sides would repeat, with the Chiefs going 3 and out, Hinton getting a great punt return to the Chiefs' 26-yard line, which led to another short field goal. Chiefs got the ball back, went 3 and out again, and then Denver continued a 10-play drive, which got down to the Chiefs' 21-yard line, but they got no points as the half ended. So no points, but they still went into halftime up 13. And then in the third quarter, Denver got the ball and promptly put together an 11-play drive, with London finding his tight end Carmine Rhodes for a 5-yard touchdown, increasing the lead to 20. So at that point, the Broncos had run 21 straight plays, going from the end of the first half to the beginning of the second half. Kansas City finally got the ball and made quick work of it. They scored in just 4 plays. Chop finding Ellswick for a 24-yard gain, Chop running for a yard, James Carter running for a 42-yard gain, and then Chop hitting Michael Walker for a 2-yard touchdown and cutting the lead to 34-21. But Denver got the ball and did what they did best, which was holding onto the ball for long stretches of time. Put together a 12-play drive, highlighted by Peter London's 28-yard run, and ending with another Ryan Johnson touchdown run from 3 yards out, making it 41-21. Then an unusual sequence where David Chop returned the kickoff, and he got all the way to his own 47-yard line before being tackled. But then he was out of stamina and had to leave, so Addison Crosby stepped in. Broncos got called for a defensive pass interference, which helped the Chiefs convert a 3rd and 4 on what would have otherwise been an incomplete pass. Then Addison Crosby threw a touchdown pass to Michael Walker from 22 yards out, making it 41-28. And then getting into the fourth quarter, Denver again took the ball, again held the ball for a long stretch of time, a 10-play drive all the way down to the Chiefs' 5-yard line, and yet another short field goal, making it a 16-point lead. Chiefs got the ball back, and David Chop was able to return. He led an 11-play drive, ending in a touchdown pass to Ellswick from 13 yards out. And then Chop ran it in for the 2-point conversion, making it a one-score game at 44-36 with about 5 minutes to go. But the Broncos would not be denied, and they would not need to punt. London converted a 3rd and 1 with a 12-yard carry. And then on 3rd and 10, he found Thomas Gesick for a 12-yard gain. And then even later, on a 3rd and 4, he threw to Carmine Rhodes for a 6-yard gain. Rhodes fumbled, and it looked like the Chiefs might get a chance for a miracle finish. But Ryan Johnson recovered the fumble, keeping the Broncos in possession. And they would handle the ball up until the final seconds when Gesick would score from 6 yards out on the final play of the game. Broncos would miss the extra point, but absolutely would not matter at that point. 50-36 is the final score. Peter London, absolute MVP, 32 of 35 for 301 yards and a touchdown, and 30 carries for 250 rushing yards, touchdown and a fumble from him. Thomas Gesick added 2 touchdowns. Ryan Johnson added touchdowns and that key fumble recovery, and the Broncos are able to win. David Chop, just 8 passes, 6 completions for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns, and a touchdown on one of his 8 carries for 22 yards. James Carter added 75 yards. Benedict DeLuna, of course, fantastic opening to the game with those 2 long kickoff returns. But ball control was absolutely the story of this game. Denver ran 94 plays in this game, did not punt once. Their only drives ended at the end of the 2 halves. Well, I guess one ended with a touchdown, but the only drive that did not end with a touchdown or a turnover was the end of the first half. And by my calculations, they ended with 42 minutes and 51 seconds in time of possession. Kansas City ran 37 offensive plays. That's plays from scrimmage, does not count their 4 punts. And had 17 minutes and 9 seconds in time of possession. So almost 43-17 advantage from the Broncos' time of possession. 94 plays compared to 37. Chiefs had 4 punts, all in the first half. Broncos never needed a punt. So just absolutely controlled this game. Highly efficient, super long drives. Pretty much every drive was 10 plays or more. Dominated this game. And still, despite all of that, had they lost that fumble in the last minute, the Chiefs would have had a chance. It would have been a long shot, but the Chiefs would have had possession down 8. So despite all those advantages in plays and time of possessions, Broncos still ended up being basically a very close game, despite the final score, the 14-point margin. But the Broncos do win, and they are off to their 5th consecutive conference championship game. In the NFC, the Lions' 2nd consecutive upset bid came just short against the Rams. Rams survived 30-23. After some early 3-and-outs, Detroit got on the board first. They drove into Rams territory, and Zin Nevin hit a 50-yard field goal to put the Lions up on the board. Later in the first, Avila hit Bruce Dawson for a 46-yard gain to get well into Lions territory, but Avila was then sacked twice by Sparacino and Crook, forcing the Rams to kick a field goal and tie the game. In the second quarter, Hansen led an 80-yard drive in 10 plays, hitting his receiver Bullock for 15 yards, and then later they connected again for an 11-yard touchdown. First end zone trip of the game, putting the Lions on top 10-3. But the Rams would respond, Avila going 6 of 8 on the next drive for 57 yards, including 3 big completions to Slamba for 13, 18-yard gains, and then a 2-yard touchdown to tie the game at 10. But Detroit would respond in kind, Hansen finding Bullock again for a 24-yard gain, and then throwing a touchdown pass to Sebi Bizzardo from a yard out, which meant the Lions would go into the locker room up 17-10. In the third quarter, Avila had a 40-yard screen pass to Bruce Dawson, but the drive would stall from there, and the Rams would settle for a field goal, cutting the lead down to 4. Then Hansen drove Detroit down to the Rams' 3-yard line, but Tremaine Craig was stopped from there on consecutive plays, unable to find the end zone, so Detroit kicked a field goal, restoring their lead to 20-13. Rams got the ball back. Bruce Dawson ran it for 21. Avila threw to Scott Baldwin for 17 yards, and then to Baldwin again for an 11-yard touchdown. Extra point tied the game at 20. Into the fourth quarter now, Avila, all passing, got the Rams down to the Detroit 1-yard line, but they would have to, from there, settle for another short field goal. Detroit then moved the ball down to midfield, but after Hansen completed a pass to Tony Sherman, Sherman fumbled the ball at the Rams' 34-yard line, and Jason Bumbarger recovered. From there, Avila found Bruce Dawson again for a 31-yard gain, found Baldwin for 18, completed one to Slomba for 16, and then found Anthony Delary for a 3-yard touchdown, making it 30-20. After a trade of punts, Detroit got the ball back with just under 7 minutes to go. Hansen completed a number of short passes, slowly driving their Lions down the field. They got to the Rams' 3-yard line, but Hansen tried to run it in from there and was unsuccessful. So they would settle for a field goal, making it a one-score game with 2 minutes and 11 seconds left. But Avila then found Jake Duda for a 31-yard gain, completed another first down to Kerry Slomber for 16, and then one more to Anthony Larry for 22, another first down, and they ran out the clock. So Rams survived 32-23. Philip Avila, 70 passes, completed 51 of them for 587 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Bruce Dawson, 20 touches, including 15 catches for 167 yards. Kerry Slomba, 10 catches, 124 yards, and a touchdown. Lions focused on the wide receivers and were able to keep them away from some Herculean numbers, but that meant Dawson and Slomba were able to break out and have great games through the air. Jason Bumbarger, a couple of passes defended in a fumble recovery also for the Rams. Randall Hansen was very efficient, 41 of 54, 329 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tony Sherman caught 14 of those passes for 95 yards, but he had that one critical fumble. Bradley Cook had a couple of sacks. Mike Presley had a couple of pass breakups. So a lot of solid performances from the Lions, but it is the Rams who advance 30-23 with the victory there. The Dolphins beat the Tennessee Titans 49-28 to advance to their second conference championship ever. On Miami's first drive, Hammonds threw to Jamie Ramirez for 17, and then found Lawrence Sanders for a 30-yard touchdown to open the scoring. In Tennessee's response, Joseph Cale carried 6 straight times for a total of 49 yards, but an incomplete pass on a 3rd and 4 led to a Titans field goal. Then Hammonds found one more for 15, Ramirez again for 17, Lawrence Sanders for a 24-yard gain, and then Sanders again for a 7-yard touchdown, increasing the lead to 14-3. Tennessee's next drive, they would run 5 straight running plays, but ultimately have to punt. Miami drove down to the Tennessee 43 after that, but punted as well. In the second quarter, Richard Job would hit a 50-yard field goal to bring the Titans within 14-6, and that's how we would go into the half. On the second play of the second half, Hammonds would throw an interception to Sergio Collins, who would return it all the way to the Miami 13-yard line. And then in just one play, Outman found Aquino for a 13-yard touchdown pass. Joseph Cale ran it in for the 2-point conversion, and we were tied at 14. But then on the second play, after the ensuing kickoff, Hammonds bombed one deep to Patrick Hatley for a 57-yard touchdown. It was Hatley's only catch of the game, but it was a big one. Put Miami back on top. But then Tennessee returned the kickoff to the 32-yard line, and in one play, Joseph Cale ran it 68 yards for a touchdown. So between the touchdown, the bomb to Hatley, and then the long run from Cale, we had 3 touchdowns in under 2 minutes of game time, and we were now tied at 21. Miami kept up their scoring ways on the next drive, with Hammonds finding Kenny White for 25, Lawrence Sanders again for another 25, and then that led to a Brockers 3-yard touchdown run. Tennessee, though, would respond. Joseph Cale running for 12 yards, catching a pass for 16 yards, running again for 15, and then Will Outman running it himself 28 yards to pay dirt, and the extra point tied it at 28. But Miami kept up the pressure, Hammonds finding Ejiofor for 20, and that led to a touchdown pass to Kenny White from 23 yards out. So at that point it was 35-28, and we'd had 6 straight touchdown drives to start the second half, turning a defensive contest into a shootout. But then the Miami defense finally got a stop, and then on their ensuing drive, after a punt, a Ryan Bowman 48-yard run set up Hammonds with a short field, and he found Ramirez with a 1-yard touchdown pass to increase their lead to 42-28. Miami then got another stop. We got another big run from Brockers for 20, and then Brockers ran in a touchdown from 6 yards out to score yet again and finally clinch the game. So Dean Hammonds was 24 of 36 in this game, 417 passing yards, 5 touchdowns and 1 pick. 136 of those yards and 2 of those touchdowns came to Lawrence Sanders. Steve Kapfhammer had 2 sacks. Jose Sola had 3 tackles for loss in the win. As for Will Outman, only 7 completions, but for 64 yards and a touchdown. Also had 58 rushing yards and a score. Joseph Cale, as he had all season, really carried the Titans. 196 rushing yards and a touchdown on just 24 carries. Robinson Terrell, a couple tackles for loss. Garrett Smith, a tackle for loss and a pass defended. And for a while, the Titans were able to keep the pace in the second half, going score for score with the Dolphins. Finally, the Dolphins' defense got into play, and then their offense kept scoring and ultimately pulled away late in the fourth quarter. So final score, 49-28. Dolphins advanced to the conference championship in the AFC. In the NFC, the Packers defeated the Commanders 34-14, avenging an earlier loss in the regular season and advancing the Packers to their first ever appearance in the conference championship. The Packers' first drive was 12 plays long. It only went 49 yards, and it led to a short field goal and a 3-0 lead. Morrison's first pass attempt of the game was intercepted by Manish Watson. 5 plays later, the Packers scored their first touchdown on a Carl Frost touchdown carry from 2 yards out. Washington then drove to the Green Bay 37-yard line, and Jeffrey Leon hit a 54-yard field goal to get the Commanders on the board and cut the lead to 10-3. Packers would respond, Joseph Garibay completing 7 straight passes for 69 yards, and ending that nice drive with a 3-yard touchdown pass to Junior Ogba, increasing the lead to 17-3. Morrison was sacked by Roy Calley on the next drive, but still converted. He converted, though, that 3rd and 15 with a 15-yard completion to JaVale Knee, but ultimately the Commanders would have to punt on that drive. Later, another long completion to JaVale Knee for 18 yards was called back for offensive pass interference, killing that drive and leaving the Packers with the lead at halftime 17-3. In the second quarter, Morrison had another great conversion, though, a 13-yard completion to Sebastian Moore to convert a 3rd and 9, and that drive would end with another long Leon field goal, a 51-yarder, making it 17-6. Then Joseph Garibay found Nwachukwu for 17, completed one to Carl Frost for 16, and then to Ramek Phelps for a 12-yard touchdown on a 3rd and 10, no less, increasing the Packers' lead at 24-6. Late in the third quarter, another Washington drive got into Packers territory, but that ended in a sack from Bookheit, and Leon would miss a 58-yard attempt. So we go to the fourth quarter. Washington, another promising drive got to the Packer 34-yard line, but then Morrison was sacked twice in a row, pushing the Commanders completely out of field goal range and forcing them to punt from the Packer 44. Then Garibay found Phelps for gains of 13 and 25. Packers ended that drive with a 41-yard field goal, making it 27-6 with under 6 minutes to go. Chad Dolis then had a 60-yard run for Washington, setting them up for 1st and goal. And then 3 plays later, Morrison found Sebastian Moore for an 11-yard touchdown. They converted a 2-point attempt to make it 27-14. But then Garibay would take over, pass to Carl Frost for 16, and then would complete a deep pass over Randy Espino to Cody Caspi for a 51-yard gain. And then Garibay would connect with Ramek Phelps again for a 7-yard touchdown to close the scoring. Washington's final drive, they turned over the ball on downs near midfield. Garibay would then throw his only interception of the game right at the very end. It was returned into Green Bay territory, but Washington's clock ran out 3 plays later, and that was the end of things. So Jerome Morrison only had the 1 interception, was 319 passing yards, a touchdown and a pick on 30 of 44 passing. Sebastian Moore had 78 yards and a touchdown. Trevor Dunn had an interception for the Commanders, that one, though, that came with the game already decided. Joseph Garibay, otherwise 28 of 39, 328 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. 109 yards and 2 touchdowns by Ramek Phelps on 9 catches. Connor Hardison had a good day with 4 passes defended, and Manish Watson had a tackle for loss, a pass defended, and an interception. The Packers defeat the Commanders 34-14 is your final score, and the Packers again advancing to the NFC Championship. So it's the top 2 seeds in the AFC. Miami is going to be at Denver for a chance to go to the 5th championship game of SimNFL's short history. This is a repeat of the conference championship last year, which Denver won 34-13. Earlier this season, also Denver won a matchup between these two teams in Denver. That one went to overtime before the Broncos won 32-29. As I've mentioned, it is Denver's 5th consecutive appearance in 5 years. Miami's 2nd appearance, repeating from last year. And then in the NFC, Green Bay's 1st appearance, it's the Rams' 4th, as Green Bay will go to LA and try to make their first championship game appearance. The Rams lost to Washington in 22, beat Washington in 23, then lost to Dallas in 24, and they are back after a 1-year break. This game is a rematch of a Week 1 game this year, which the Rams won 36-22. But a lot of football has been played since. A lot of game planning lessons have been learned. So we'll see if Green Bay can win when it matters most and defeat the Rams. So that is it for our championship games set up for what was technically be Week 21 in the conference championships. A couple more extension offers to talk about very briefly. Indianapolis got a couple of big signings. I won't name all of them, but 2 big ones. Donald Loving, 73 overall receiver, is coming back. And then Jaime Hernandez, 74 overall defensive end, with a decent deal there. And then Tampa Bay is bringing back one of the highest overall free agents in this cycle, 93 overall, William Chittum, on a short deal with a value of about 16. He'll be 31 next year, but even facing a possible regression, should have the attributes to continue contributing to the Buccaneers. And then Myron Mahan, 76 overall cornerback, is returning. He'll just be 29 next year. They gave him a nice chunk of change to return to the Buccaneers. So after this, just 2 extension sinks left. It does seem like the majority of teams have made the offers they want, but there's a couple of weeks left in case any of these or any other names look to still be extended. But the big names that I'm still watching, Celio Fuentes, Michael Cox, and Eric Simon of the Cowboys, Robert Anderson of Miami, who will be 32 next year but continues to progress, so favorable prime age there, and could be very valuable in free agency, even if he just holds at 85. Vaughn Johnson was given an offer by Pittsburgh, so we could see him locked up with an extension in the next couple of weeks. But Jose Gomez-Rodriguez and Robert Cook, their 2 starting safeties, could still be out there in free agency, as well as a couple of front 7 guys, David Stoll of the Chiefs and Glenn Setzer of the Commanders, could be looking at free agency coming next year. So again, we'll keep an eye on these and other names in the last couple of weeks. I'll keep you informed with what signings are able to get in just before the deadline. So here is where the draft order currently stands, with just 4 teams still to be assigned. So everyone through Las Vegas through pick 18, we already know from the regular season. And then we add 6 more games based on the result of wildcard weekend. So those 6 are 19 through 24, and they are ranked, as with everyone else, by record and with strength of schedule as the single tiebreaker. One to note for your Indianapolis's second first-round pick that they got from Carolina is going to be number 24. And then from the 4 teams that departed the postseason this week, they're ranked 25 through 28. So Tennessee, Detroit, Kansas City, and then what would be Washington, but the Chargers actually have that pick. So the Chargers' current first-rounders are going to be 22 and 28. And then our final 4 teams are going to fill out these last numbers, which mean Cleveland will have number 14, and then one of these last 4 as they have the rights to Denver's first-round pick in the coming draft. So the other preview I wanted to make this week, or other feature, is a quick draft preview. Basically some positions that I'm very interested in watching during the Combine. Obviously, we're still weeks away from the Combine. We have we still have to finish the season, of course, and then we'll get into pro days, and there'll be invites for the Combine, progressions, all that good stuff. Free agency will be starting. But of course, the draft and the lead up to the draft are going to get a lot of interest. So I figure why not go ahead and start now and look at some of the names I'm going to be watching for in the Combine. Of course, quarterbacks are always going to get the bulk of the attention. So Alcides Holden, PMS out of Tulane, Paul McCullers-Sanders, Cooper Williams of Virginia should get some looks. And then as of this, we don't know if he's going to declare or not, but if Dick Richards of BYU declares a year early, foregoes his last year of eligibility, absolutely is going to be a name to watch. Personally, I think he could even challenge Holden for first quarterback off the board, depending on how he performs the Combine and what teams need. The first 3 names here are all different archetypes. We have Holden, the scrambler, PMS, the pocket guy, and then Cooper Williams, the highest rated field general. Dick Richards would be a second pocket guy as well. But for the top 3 that we know are coming out, 3 different archetypes. We'll see what we expect. Obviously, we expect Williams to have the highest football IQ and to excel at the written test. McCullers-Sanders expect to have the highest arm strength. Holden probably the highest speed and agility. So we'll get to see what each of those quarterbacks can do best. Should be very interesting to watch. On the running back side, Matt Van Roten, of course, out of Penn State. Definitely one of the big names to watch. Also looking at James Livingston and Joe Williams. Interesting to note here, all of these are receiving backs. So keep an eye on those skills as well and see how they measure up with each other. B, very interesting for those who are looking for workhorse backs. Obviously, I think if you're high enough running back, you have a good carry score, a good speed, you can do it all. But interesting that all the top running backs, at least on my list, all have that extra receiving dimension as well. We'll see what that does to their respective draft stocks as they compete against each other. On the wide receiver side, I've repeatedly said I think it's going to be a very deep year for wide receivers, and that starts at the top with Tyler Prochnow, who many think could be the very first player selected, and certainly pre-combine, final progressions, boom bust, all that stuff looks to be the consensus top athlete. Even if, say, a high quarterback were taken first, Prochnow probably the highest valued and highest rated single prospect right now. But you've also got to consider Patrick Hernandez, Jeffrey Boutillier. I'm also very high on Brad Pogue, who, if he would declare, even in a wide receiver heavy year, I think he would be definitely one to watch. In this case, Pogue and Prochnow are both speedsters. Hernandez and Boutillier are possession receivers, which you'll see if you look at their stats and look at their crazy catch numbers. But all 3 of these guys, and then 4 if Pogue declares, definitely worth watching when the Combine comes around. On the offensive line, a few tackles to watch: John Nunez, Andy Teixeira, and Sean Johnson, Penn State. A couple of balanced guys, and then Johnson, the run blocker. Not the best day for air raid teams or vertical teams if you're looking for a pass blocker. A pass blocking specialist, I should say. Nunez and Teixeira, I think, both absolutely should grade very highly in pass blocking. So depending on what you value and what you're looking for, could get a lot of attention. And then Sean Johnson, as a run blocking specialist, should definitely get some looks as well. On the defensive side, 3 linebackers I'm watching: Kevin Robles, Michael Stonebreaker, and then outside linebacker Hisashi Rudock. Robles and Rudock are very, very highly rated prospects on my board, and considering the relative dearth sometimes of linebackers at the very high echelons of the draft, I think both are going to get a lot of looks. Stonebreaker absolutely has a quality of play to match his name. So even if I think he's a step behind the other two, I think definitely I'll be looking forward to seeing what he could do at his pro day, and I expect him to get a combine invite and impress there. So yeah, 3 linebackers, definitely excited to see what they bring in the combine, and I think could race up draft boards for teams who are very hungry to finally get a high-rated linebacker prospect in the draft. And then finally, at cornerback, we have another situation where we have 3 different archetypes in my top 3. Aaron Mays being the premier zone cover guy, Tom Koch, the top man cover guy, and Paul Phillips, an excellent ball hawk. We'll see how he tests out in his cover scores, but certainly as far as the potential for takeaways and interceptions, I think Phillips will get a lot of attention, especially on the heels of someone like Donald Dingus and his incredible performance in his rookie year. I think teams will be looking for ball hawks, or at least seriously considering their value early in the first round. But yeah, if you want cover specialists, Mays and Koch are hard to beat. And then mixing Phillips in as well, I think it'd be very interesting to see what those 3 do. So 3 names, 3 specialties. We'll see what they can each bring to the table on combine time. So yeah, just a little starter there to whet your appetite for some of the pre-draft stuff to come. But next week we will get through our conference championships and one final step away before the final game of the season. And that's where I'll leave things today. That's all the content I have for this edition of the SimNFL show. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. And as I say to all users in all of our sims, good luck and have fun.